Okay, so we're gonna do the podcast in Greek, right?
You're ready for...
I've been practicing. I had to do the audiobook. Can't say my Greek is very good, but I'm gonna give it a
go.
First question, I guess it would be, how did you decide to write a book about Giannis? What was, the main reason?
Well, he's somebody that I've been watching for a while, and I was so fascinated by his story, but I felt like I didn't really know it, like I knew the broad outline of it. Like, I feel like us in America, we knew the basics, right? Like sold trinkets on the street, had a very difficult upbringing. And then all of a sudden he makes it into a superstar. And I just kind of felt like, okay, well, what are all the things that happened that, were really hard, and how did you transform? I just feel like there was so much missing from the story. And I originally set out just to do a story for the place that I worked at, Bleacher Report, just on his youngest brother, Alex. But when I was at their house, Giannis showed up and I was like, oh my God, it's Giannis. I just wasn't expecting him. And the more that I hung out with them, the more I realized that, the best parts of Giannis are actually all the stuff off the court. And when I saw him interact with his brother, I was like, okay, I think this story is going to be so much more about Giannis than Alex. And then after it came out, I was like, what if this was actually a book? Like, what if I could learn more about all these things that I'm curious about?
Did you travel to Greece during the time of your research?
No, and this is the biggest bummer. I was supposed to go, and then the coronavirus made me cancel the whole trip. And it was so hard because, first of all, I was just enormously disappointed. Like that, I wanted to go to Greece so badly. But, in writing, you want to bring the reader there. You want the reader to feel like they're walking through Sepolia. And so I had to interview so many people that are actually in Sepolia and in Greece to kind of, almost like pretend that I got to go there.
This makes it even more amazing to me, because you had a perfect image of the whole situation in Greece and how it was the years of Giannis upbringing, which was amazing, because we know you travel a lot. We know you've been to Lithuania, for example, for Lamelo. But we didn't find the actual sentence that said that you came to Greece, so that was a question that we wanted to answer that.
Was so upset. I was like, damn it, because originally I thought the pandemic, we didn't know how long it was going to be. So I thought, oh, if my trip's in June, it'll be fine. Yes. Oh, if my trip's in September. And then it was like, oh, actually, you're never leaving your apartment again.
How did you get to all these people? Because you, in your book, you interviewed everyday people. Friends of Giannis from his childhood, or people from his neighborhood, or I don't know, everyone, up to the prime minister.
Yeah.
How did you get to all these people?
Well, I think first it's like it started with the original coach Spiros, and then asking him like, well, who else coached him? Who else played with him? And then every single person I asked, like, who else should I talk to? And it's, the generosity of the people I spoke to was insane. And I don't think it has anything to do with me. It's more like all these people love Giannis so much that they want to talk about him, and I think so it more speaks to how beloved he is there. And I also just like refused to give up. Like it was really hard because I don't speak Greek. So some people at first were hesitant to talk to me because they're like, I don't speak English. And so just trying to convince people like, hey, what if so-and-so translates? I would love, you're so important to the book, and just kind of like not giving up on it. It took, I don't think I got, so Raman Rana, one of his childhood friends, I didn't get him till like, I would say like a month or two before the deadline.
Okay.
So he ended up being like one of the best interviews, and it took like a year to get him.
Yeah, and you have a very, I think you have an approach that it's very anthropological, if I might say. It's like you have been writing about all these characters. LaMelo Ball or RJ Barrett, I think, Giannis. People that for example, Amelo left the States to go to Lithuania, or Giannis left Greece to come alone to the States. And your approach, it's not solely as athletes and their in-court behavior or something like that. You approach the society that they live in, and this is truly amazing because you reading the book, I think you grasped the whole situation in Greece like 100%. I don't know. It was crazy, and now that you told us that you have never been here, I mean, it's even crazier.
Well, thank you for saying that. You just made my whole month, because I was so worried about not getting it right, because that's the trouble in being an outsider, right? Is and I appreciate that you use the word, anthropological, because that's literally my goal. And it's hard because I'm not from the place that I'm covering, and I don't want to act like the ugly American coming in, making all these assumptions when it's okay, you don't know, you're not, I wanted it to feel so accurate to the people that are actually there. And that's why, it was important for me not just to interview white Greeks, but Black Greeks. And, there was a lot of Black Greek people, not just athletes, that I interviewed just to get their stories, just to understand what it was like growing up there. And a lot of those didn't even, I mean, some of them made the book, but a lot of them didn't. And it was just for my own research to ground myself. And it's funny because I never really thought about stuff globally until I went to Lithuania, like you mentioned. And then I just realized how small my world was here, and how small Americans think. And basketball is the total opposite. It's becoming more and more global by the minute. And so if I want to be a basketball writer, I have to broaden who I write about, where I write about. That's the future of sports. It's global is the norm. And so I needed to kind of step up my game as a writer.
Also, what is very interesting in the book of Giannis is that is also comes with it is that sometimes it's the timing, because for Giannis, you knew, I suppose that okay, everybody in America knows that it is a huge story, the boy that came from Greece and conquered the world, let's say. But it was the very interesting thing in the book is that this, while it was happening in Greece, it was happening at the same time as the rise of the far-right party in Greece that was Golden Dawn. So this is a parallel story of a black kid in Greece from immigrant parents living a very tough life, very poor, and at the same time having to deal with the rise of a far-right movement. Right. And also at the same time, there are two Greeces in a way. You can see the Kivotos story and how people are empathetic and are
everyday people.
Yes, exactly, hugging diversity and being supportive. And at the same time, when you did find out about what was happening in Greece, politically, socially, what was your how did you approach it?
What was your reaction?
Yes.
I was really shocked. It wasn't that I didn't expect there to be racism. I just didn't know it was to the level of, a neo-Nazi group that has seats in parliament. That is different. That's it's not a fringe group anymore. This is part of the political system, but how ingrained is it in the political system was my question, and I think we just had not heard of this in America. I don't know anyone that I know, and I consider my friends to be, people that pay attention to the news and politics. None of us had ever heard of Golden Dawn. We're not taught about Golden Dawn here. So, there's a version of Giannis's story that's very nice and fairy tale that we've been told that's just very happy and, it's very storybook. but you just never heard about the racism or how difficult it was to be undocumented. So my reaction was like, wow, I cannot write this book without contending with the political forces that are there, because if I write it without that, like that does a disservice to his actual experience, and that does a disservice to his identity and how people see that identity, how people treat that identity, how he views himself. I think because he's called the Greek freak, there's been so much emphasis on the Greek part of him, but so much less on, the Nigerian Black parts of him. And so for me, I was like, wow, I really need to contend with this. So that's why, when you open the book, there's a proverb from Nigeria and a proverb from Greece, because I wanted to set the tone very early that like, hey, this is not just going to be a book about Greece. It's going to be about, the full spectrum of identity. But yeah, I think it was shocking to me, and I'm curious if it was shocking to you, like not just the racism then, but now, that there are still murals of him right now being desecrated, still right-wing, really intense people saying awful things about him right now. Like that shocked me. I did not know that still existed.
I think this is a part of a larger thing happening also in Greece, but in Europe in general. And if we can see also the example of Trump in USA, or let's say there is something that comes with financial crisis and difficult years, and then it's the time where the far right movement finds the ground, and this is still an ongoing thing. So it doesn't make, for us, the fact that there are Giannis haters in Greece now, it's sad, it makes us angry, but we expect it. We expect it to be like that. We know that the majority is not on this side, but it is too big of a minority, the other side.
And as Greeks, we have to acknowledge that, Golden Dawn has been in existence for like many years. And its rise to power, I mean, they were never part of a government or something, but they were in the parliament, and now they have been condemned as a criminal organization, which was the case for many years. But there were people that even when the trial was ongoing, they would vote for them, and these people are still out there, and they're part of society, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to pay attention to it in order to face it and move on in a way that it's better for society. I don't know. While reading the book, I thought, when I started, to be completely honest with you, I thought, okay, let's see what Mirin has to say. I will focus on the US aspects of Giannis' life, because that's the thing that we don't know, because we've been here. I mean, we've been living. We're a bit older than Giannis, but we've been growing up in Athens for the same around the same time. So we thought that we'd know everything, and you showed the trauma of his life, but in a way that it reminded me of the movie with Will Smith. I don't know, Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know if you've seen it. And it was like there is trauma, but there is joy in this trauma, and this is what Giannis is all about. I mean, I was amazed by how you managed to do that.
Thank you for saying that. That makes me really relieved to hear, because I was really cognizant of the way that it's almost like trauma porn, like the way that people talk about these things. It's like, it's so easy to fall into that trap, like terrible, terrible, terrible trauma. But like, the thing is that, and I had never heard this about Giannis's childhood, because the narrative is, it fits better. People love the trauma to triumph, but he had a very happy childhood, like very happy. And I think it's hard for people to really wrap their heads around the fact that he could be poor and happy. But when you're poor and that's all you don't look at it as a sad thing. You're just 7 years old and this is the situation. And so he had a really happy childhood. And I personally, like, I almost made a rule for myself, like, for every difficult moment you have in the book, you need to also have a joyous moment to go with it. So that's why it goes from like, I don't know if we're going to make rent today to like, we're at the beach and we're giggling and having fun. I don't know if we're going to make it. And then we're making jokes at the bus stop, like, I think it's like, that was the rhythm of his life. It was very up and down. And I think that's why he's so level-headed, because he was trying to like really, be steady when things were so up and down, So, personally, that was one of my favorite parts of learning about him, was how much joy he had, because like, we see how close him and his brothers are, but we don't know like where that comes from. And of course it comes from making games out of terrifying situations, like, that's what kids do. They find optimism, they find joy in the bad things. And I think he's always like kept that childhood curiosity and joy.
And through all these up and downs, I think the one constant thing, I think, is his family for Giannis.
Yeah.
The A to Z. That's why he's also, another part of it is through all the experiences that we learn, is that why he's not so open. Although he's an open-hearted person, he's not. He has a small circle of people really around him.
And you can understand it, right? It's like, it makes sense. Like, of
it
course
makes total sense. Yeah.
Like, of course, now I get it, like, because I think in the NBA, it's like, so nowadays it's like, who's on, who's Instagram and who's got the best outfit. And it's like this very like buddy friendship, popularity contest. But like, researching Giannis, I'm like, oh, it makes sense why he's not like that, because he can't trust people the way that other people trust people.
Exactly.
And that's okay. Like, I think that's a good thing. Like, he shows, I mean, I think he shows like, it's okay to just hang out with your family. It's okay to just be a homebody. It's okay to just wear a sweatsuit, like, I just really like those things about him.
Although now he has a GQ.
Oh yeah, now he's popping in this like outfit. I mean, I was like, okay, okay. That was so cool.
What was another thing that was amazing about the book is that there were so many coincidences around it. I don't know. I mean, I saw that you announced the book when Giannis signed the Supermax. It was crazy. I was like, come on. And and then he scores 50 points, and it's like when the book was first came out. So, I mean, his story is like a movie, and everything it's like he's wrapped around in a cloud of success, joy, love, and everything that gets associated with him. It's like a movie. I don't know. It was crazy, and it was crazy. How did you feel when you were watching the finals and your book was about to drop and he was scoring like 50 points or something?
My mom said the same thing as you. She was like, this is like, why do you have the best luck? Like, this is unreal. And now my friends think I'm like a witch because they think I like predicted this. And I'm like, no, this is Giannis karma. This has nothing to do with me. It's exactly like you said, like, everything he touches, it's amazing. But I was just so excited watching the Bucks. Like, I haven't felt tied to a team or anything in years. Like, I grew up in Los Angeles and I was a Lakers fan, my whole childhood, and I just loved the Lakers and I loved Kobe. But the timing of this book and this playoff run, like, my whole family became Bucks fans. We had Giannis shirts and Bucks shirts. And like, one time I forgot my shirt, it was in the wash, and my parents like yelled at me like,
that's so great.
They're like, they're gonna lose because you didn't bring your shirt, And I was like, oh, you guys, like, this is getting deep. Like, now we're really like Bucks fans. Okay. But it was a joy to share that experience, because as you know, a lot of the book is about Milwaukee's failures, and it's about this franchise that has just struggled to find its joy and find its time in the sun. And to see them do the impossible was something that I literally never thought was going to happen. The only reason why the book came out at the time that it did, because we thought he'd be in free agency. So
that's amazing.
That's why on the cover, he doesn't have a Bucks jersey on, because we didn't like, how awkward would that be if he joined, Miami and the cover is a green jersey? Like that would be so weird. Right.
Yeah.
So, the timing, like nobody expected this.
That's amazing. For us, because you said about the wearing the jersey thing, we had in this playoff run the opposite jersey jinx, which worked 100%.
Wow.
Which is whatever jersey Manos wore, this team was eliminated. So when Bucks got to the finals and the whole Greece was going crazy, Manos didn't have a Suns jersey. So we asked him 1,000 times, buy something that is Suns.
We can't let him down.
No, and I actually ordered something and I say,
yeah,
I mean, I don't have it yet, but I have ordered it, so it counts. And it did.
There you go. You got him this far, okay?
Yeah.
That stuff is real. I believe it 100%. And I saw my Buck shirt the other day. I was like, I don't think I should wear it. Like, I feel like that was only a special purpose, special time. I don't think I should break it out until the playoffs.
So the profiles the people that you're deciding to work with, you are also, because also there are long pieces, so it needs a lot of research, and so you're working on them a lot of time, you get emotionally connected to those players.
Yeah.
I
do. I mean, I already respected Giannis before the book, but now I feel a different level of respect. I admire him. But yeah, I do feel emotionally connected. It's like, how do you learn stories of a mother that, has only one pair of socks for her 4 boys and not feel something, and I think that that's okay to feel something. Sometimes, writers are afraid to feel something or convey that in the writing, but I think that's what makes reading worthwhile, that all 3 of us can feel connected to this person that we don't know, who's a superstar, and feel emotion and admiration and fear and excitement for his journey. Like, I think that's what it's about. And that's why I like really hate when people condense these long stories or books into little tiny articles. It's like, sometimes you can't convey a person's experience in such few words,
And I agree totally with that. And how do you usually choose the people that you're going to research on?
I think that's the hardest part, like actually choosing the right subject. Even before you write it or research it, it's like, how are you supposed to find somebody that's interesting? And I think for me, I look at personalities a lot. Like, I go for like really loud guys or really quiet guys. Yeah. I feel like the loud guys are more
LaMelo Giannis is the two.
Like the complete opposite, right? And like, but I think that's because the louder ones have like very soft, vulnerable sides that people don't bother to get to know. And I think the quiet guys like a Brandon Ingram are much more thoughtful or loud than people can imagine. Or Patrick Beverley, like he's so loud, right? But inside he's very vulnerable and he's gone through a lot. So I think that that's my biggest predictor of like who to go after. It's like these 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. What can you uncover that people don't know? Because there's so many writers, there's so many TV shows, there's so many podcasts. So it's like, what can you offer that's brand new? And exactly. I think a lot of it comes from like trying to figure out, are there aspects of, their personality or their personal lives or where they come from that differentiates them? Because, as amazing as these people are at basketball, I think that what they've gone through and, how they got there is like so much more interesting to me than what they're doing. So I just try to pick people like with interesting paths. Like when LaMelo went to Lithuania, that was crazy for us. Like, we are not used to that. Like, we don't have the feeder systems that Europe has, you know, like we would never think like 14-year-old goes pro. Like, there's a 13-year-old girl, Olivia Moultrie, that I'm trying to profile in soccer over here. And when she turned pro, that was like a really intense, I mean, people were angry that she turned pro at 13. Like, that was bonkers for us. So I think I just love, like, I don't know, following people that have unique trajectories.
And this is also something that reading your articles and knowing which you choose. I love Giannis. My favorite player is Marcus Smart.
I love him.
So I was proud that you had a piece on Marcus. Like, he belongs to this group of people, and I liked it.
See, Marcus is this is an exact example. All I heard about Marcus was like, he's intense and he's so oh my God, Marcus Smart. And like, he's the nicest, most thoughtful guy, very kind, very sweet. Like, I really enjoyed that profile. That's so cool that he's your favorite.
Yeah, I love him.
Passion. Yeah, like that hustle, that I mean, it's real.
And it is a great, also the backstory, the whole thing with how you grew up and the anger management and everything that it's a...
I tried, Mirin, to get Marcus Smart to send a tweet to Dom as a birthday gift.
One day.
We gotta make this happen. We gotta make this happen for real.
We gotta make this happen, Mirin. If you knew the number of podcasts or something that he has dedicated to Marcus Smart, like
I'm gonna hit up his marketing manager for you guys. This is a big deal. Like, out of all the players, Marcus Smart. As soon as he hit up, I'm gonna let him know, because that would be incredible.
Dom will probably faint if
For me, the interview, I don't have anything else to say.
Right, we need to make this happen ASAP. Like, I'm trying to listen to this podcast. That would be amazing.
Oh, that's good. Moving on, though.
And what I think is very cool is, like, when you approach, when you watch sports, and especially, men basketball, for example, or men, it's like all these athletes nowadays have to show this bravado, or I don't know, it's like this masculinity that they have to project it. And through your stories, it's like the real people. There's more there. It's not like all the publicity and fancy clothes, cars, girls, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
It's like more to this, and it's really great that you did this, and for you to go for a month in a small city in Lithuania. I imagine that you have some stories to talk about.
Yes. I mean, when people see me, they don't see sports writer. They just see like 5-foot woman, like, American girl. Like, they don't think that I know anything about basketball, right? Like, immediately I'm like underestimated. So I think talking with these guys about their feelings, and, I think it catches them off guard, and then they feel comfortable because I'm not, they can sense that I'm genuine. I'm not going to judge them. And, it's not that men can't have that same relation with them, but I wonder if being a woman, I don't know, helps them feel comfortable talking about these things and let down their guard a bit, and not feel like they have to be so like masculine and bravado. And but yeah, Lithuania was so funny because I had to sneak into the gym because I interviewed LeVar on the like second or third day I was there, because the only reason I came to Lithuania is because the family agreed to access, right? Like, I would not have flown to Lithuania if they didn't agree to talk to me. Like, that would be crazy and stupid. But so they agreed. And then I don't know if you guys remember, but there was this article that came out that said, LeVar said some really bad things about Luke Walton as a coach. And so at that point, and so he felt he was misquoted by that journalist. And so he said, we're not doing access anymore for anyone. And then
you paid the price.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't write the article. Like, that's a different outlet. And he was
you are the media.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, media. And then everyone went home except for me. And then I was being punished like I was the media. So I was like, well, shit, my editors won't let me go home. Like I have a month left here in this tiny town, Lithuania. So I had to sneak into the gym because how else was I going to watch practice? Right. And I was like, there's only one gym in this whole town. Like it's got to be there. Right. And so the door was magically open. I just got lucky. And I just sat there and like, then the reality, because they were filming their reality show, the cameras came in and LeVar's walking through the doors and they're filming. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is the gym, like I'm in the right place. And then they had these like security guards come up to me and they were like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? And I was honest. I said, I'm a journalist. Like, and they just looked at me like, you're not a journalist. Like they did not believe me. And I was like, I'm just going to sit right here if that's okay, And so I think being a woman and being doubted actually worked in my favor because they didn't take me seriously. So I just got to stay there for like 3 weeks, come to practice every day. And I knew that I had broken the ice because like 2 weeks in, I was like, how am I going to get anyone to talk to me? Like, they don't think I'm serious. So I took a basketball and I started dribbling on the side of the court just to show them like, I'm a hooper too. Okay. Like, I know what I'm talking about. And I just started dribbling. And then these guys came over and like, they barely spoke English, but they were like, you can dribble. Like they said something like, you play. And I was like, yeah, I did. And I was like, yes, it worked. And then I got them to translate for me. So that's how that broke the ice. So yeah, I got to do a little work to get some interviews.
That's great. That now I will show you with my actual dribbling and handling.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
I'm like, did I have to do all that? But whatever. I had to take off my jacket. Like I was serious. I was really trying to show them that I could dribble. I took off it was winter in Lithuania. So it was so funny.
We know you were playing basketball, and we know you were also playing basketball for the men's in the men's team.
Oh yeah, that's how I started. Yeah.
What were your basketball characteristics? How you would describe as a player yourself?
So I was like so small, so I had to be super scrappy and annoying and like Marcus Smart like.
Exactly. I didn't say it, but I thought.
It was very like intense, and I knew like defense was the one thing I could control. So I was like a total defender, and I was a point guard, and so I loved like passing the ball. But I was one of those people that wanted to shoot instead of like passing all the time. So that was not great. Like, I wasn't the best. I was trying to be a shooting guard, but I had a point guard body. But I grew up playing on guys' teams. I was the first girl on my elementary school basketball team, and they did not want me to be there because I sucked. And like, also they were just like, who is this girl? I was like 10 years old and like 3 feet tall. But I think, joining that team and then playing pickup with guys pretty much for the next 10 years, just made me tougher. And I think that's why when I go into locker rooms and I'm the only woman, or I go up to these players, I have confidence because like I've played with guys my whole life. Like, even though obviously the guys I played against were not NBA, guys, they're just guys. And I think they're just men. Like it doesn't intimidate me. They grew up playing pickup too. Like they're just normal people.
Mm-hmm. And you're also doing profiles now that we're also speaking about you playing basketball. You're also doing profiles about WNBA players.
Oh yeah,
Brianna Stewart, Liz Cambage, which has also an amazing story. Did you watch this year's playoffs?
I didn't watch it as much, but I do try to watch WNBA as much as possible.
Do you feel like it's on the rise or not? Because this is what I get from distance, but I think that it's getting a bit also more popular as the time goes by.
Yeah, for years we've been trying to promote the WNBA because we think it's a really great sport, a really great league,
great basketball,
and great basketball, and very very interesting content, very fun content. And we for the last years we think that it's getting traction.
I do too. I've never seen the excitement like this. Like I remember when I would cover WNBA players earlier in my career, people would say, don't write about women's players. Like that's bad for your career. Like who cares about, whatever. And now it's like there's a feature on this person and that person from mainstream outlets. Like I've never seen that before, And I grew up going to WNBA games my whole life. Like I was a Sparks fan and
Candace Parker all the time now this year.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I just like Candace Parker was somebody that like I, grew up admiring, and it's just really cool to see men embrace them as well. And like Diana Taurasi was my favorite as well, and Sue Bird. And now those are like household names versus like before nobody really talked about them outside of women. Like I have a Becky Hammon Silver Stars jersey from like that's extra small from like back in the day that like
that's
never
great.
That's great.
But like now everyone's like, oh my God, Becky Hammon. And I'm like, yeah, like Becky was part of my, childhood. And it's so cool to see them get so much more popular now. One detail that actually did not make the book that I really loved is that Giannis is a huge supporter of Greek women's basketball. I forgot her name, but she played for University of Maryland. She's a Greek
Evina
player.
Maltzi.
No. I think that's
or no.
See,
then this is the most famous woman Greek player that also played a bit in the WNBA, which is called Evina Maltzi, or maybe this is not that.
This is not her. I know she played for University of Maryland for 4 years, but I don't think she made the WNBA.
Okay.
But she plays for the Greek national team, I think. I'm gonna look at what's up after this, but yeah, maybe Google. But yeah, like she was friends with Giannis, and she was saying that like there was no bigger proponent of women's basketball than Giannis. Like he would show up and play with them and include them, and he believed they should be paid just as much as men were. And so I love that about Giannis, because I've never really heard of like him in WNBA because Milwaukee doesn't have a WNBA team, but to see that he supports Greek women's basketball was so cool to learn. But
it must be Eliana Kristinaki, maybe.
Yes, Eliana
Kristinaki. Okay.
Yes. Is she on the national team, or is she on like?
I think she
yes,
played,
yes.
She has played for
and
yes.
Also, I don't know if you've seen a photo from his home in Greece when he was young, that behind has drawn the Diana Taurasi shirt.
Yeah, and he's looking with the little weight. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, miniature Giannis. Yeah, I have.
Miniature Giannis.
Yeah, really, that was a miniature version of himself.
It's so adorable. It's the same face. He's just miniature.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
But actually, yes, now it seems like that also every WNBA team has one or two stars that are known generally by the public.
I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, and I tried to get a T-shirt for Candace Parker, and I couldn't get it.
These are other
I'm in
problems,
Greece.
yes.
And I'm in Greece. Like I tried to get a Chicago Sky jersey, and I couldn't get it. And I think
they don't know how to market themselves, and people don't like when I say this, but like they really do have a marketing problem, and they don't make their jerseys available, and they don't like the interest is at an all-time high, and they don't make it easy to be a fan. Like they make it really hard to follow them, to wear their gear, to embrace them. And I just, it's got to get better in the years to come, because the popularity is there. They just need to make things easier.
You mentioned, Mirin, that the story about Giannis that didn't make the book, and I wanted to ask. I imagine that there was a lot of content, a lot of stories that didn't get to be printed in the end. Do you have personally, when I'm writing something, an article or something, it's the worst part that when I have to cut Like I don't like it at all.
Yes, and fun fact, this is why our podcasts usually are 3 hours.
Right.
And yeah, I'm so, afterwards, like I said, why? I like this part. I don't want to, keep it out.
You need editing.
So what was, do you have a story that you remember that you loved or something that didn't make the final book?
It wasn't that I loved this story, but it was more racism, and it was, it felt redundant. Like it was just too much, and I couldn't confirm it by more sources. Like the hard thing is like it can't just be like one person's recollection, like two or more need to also remember this. And, there were just things that like I heard that Giannis was called, or just like horrible things that I just, was not 100% sure. I couldn't confirm. So those had to be cut because it's just hearsay, and you don't want to put that out there unless you're like 200% sure. So I ended up cutting a lot of that, because the hard part is you're not sure if somebody's misremembering something. Like this was like over 10 years ago. And so you have to be careful, like, can I trust this person's memory? And so I think for the ones that I just couldn't, I had to cut those, even if they were really important. I just, it wouldn't be responsible to put them there. But God, now I'm thinking back, there's a lot of like fun stuff. Like, when he gets to America and he's like, oh my God, shrimp. Oh my God, and I think there was a lot of that that I had to whittle down. I'm trying to think of something specific, but just little things like, ooh, that cereal brand, or like he was just so fascinated by, every little thing. And he was like discovering it for the first time.
Yes, this was also amazing. Also amazing was the part that we saw in the book of the transition to a life that he could afford, but still he couldn't feel safe enough to do it. Like the PlayStation story is amazing.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't this easy, happy thing that we thought he was having a blast, because all we saw were clips of, oh my God, smoothies, yay, America, this is America. But it was, he was like really suffering. That was really hard, really hard.
So, going to the NBA now. This season, let's see a bit, because as we said, you have a nose for finding the upcoming heroes. Do you identify some future, some people that something tells you that there's going to be a story this year about them?
Well, I profiled Jalen Green when he was 15. And I really think he's going to be a star. Like, I really think he's got it all. But what I love about him is it's the personality. Like Jalen he's one of the first generation, like LaMelo, that grew up on the internet. And so I think there's a level of mental toughness and also mental exhaustion from being on the internet and, being used to like internet hatred, but also like, being exhausted by that. And I'm so fascinated by how he's been able to like, he's a cult hero on Instagram, but he is one of the few that actually translated to real basketball success on the court. Because a lot of these guys are just internet sensations, but Jalen is somebody that actually does it on the court. And I think he's going to be really, really good. The other guy that I am just so excited about that I got to profile a couple of months ago is Evan Mobley. Evan looks like 30. Like he's just very mature. I think he's going to be great. He's such a wonderful defender. He's so versatile. But I think because he's quiet, people don't. It's the opposite end of the spectrum,
Yeah, exactly.
He has a Duncan vibe a bit.
Yes, he is exactly like Duncan, like so, calm and professional, never going to give you arrogance. But I think that that's why he's going to have a career like a Duncan, because he goes about his business like that. So I'm just so excited to see how people think of him, because I think the people that know basketball know he's that good. But the people that want loud, brash people are never going to like him, because he doesn't fit into what they think killer mentality Mamba. It's the same stupid thing that Giannis got, right? Does he have it in him? Like, game. It's like, have you seen this man play? Like, he has it. He's the eye of the tiger, whatever stupid metaphor you want to have. Like, he's got it. He's a killer.
Exactly. And this is the case because now Cavaliers made the Mobley pick, which is it may be generational, and because he's not loud, it doesn't. You don't hear it as much as, for example, Jalen Green, that has also the personality that brings the excitement as well.
Exactly. Everyone's different, and we should just let them be how they are. Giannis clearly succeeded by being quiet, humble, and hardworking. Like, who's to say there's a right personality to have?
Do you have a take on Cade Cunningham?
I don't. I mean, I'm curious what it's like to come of age in the Pistons organization. Like, that just does not seem like the best situation. Like, how does one get better in that? So I don't know. I was trying to profile him a while back, and I was like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
And aside from the rookies of the draft class, how do you see the season so far? What are there some things that come to your mind when you think of this season so far?
Like, what are the Lakers doing? I don't understand. Like, I don't. Like, everyone in my life explodes every night. Like, I can't handle 82 games of like distress from people in my community. Like, this is they need to get it together. I don't know what's going on with the Lakers. They have total issues with effort. And I mean, when I saw Anthony Davis say we suck, I was like, oh, like I have never seen someone be that frank with the media, so I was like, God, there's issues there. The Kyrie situation is wild to me. I still can't believe that that's going on. I feel kind of bad for Kevin Durant, but he's so amazing that I'm still in awe of him and everything that he does. The Bucks just dismantled the Lakers yesterday, right? Giannis is.
They were close enough for a non-LeBron game.
Right. The standard is so low, but Giannis definitely, killed them once again. Who else? For me, I've been doing college football, so I'm like a little behind on the NBA as much. I like to do other sports too, but I need the Lakers to play better because I have a Lakers feature. So can we just manifest them?
Please better? Not this Friday because they're playing the Celtics.
I cannot get over your Marcus Smart thing. Like,
I cannot get over it in the last 8 years.
Okay, well, what is going to happen there with those with Jalen and Tatum? Like, I don't even know what to say on that situation. What is going to happen?
For me, I think win cures everything. It depends on because they are. I think these three can make it happen without somebody going. But it's all about the pieces around. I trust Brad Stevens of making the.
We'll see.
Trust the process.
Dom, the funny thing with Dom is that we always argue about the Celtics because he's what I say is that he's usually very optimistic about them. and he gets let down afterwards. So but I think they have a nice score. Circling back to Giannis and his recent feature with GQ, he mentioned that his next challenge might not be in Milwaukee or something. Having written a book about him and having gotten to know him a bit, like through the book, do you think that he would actually make that move at some point?
I don't know. I think that quote was for sure. People ran with that, like it was aggregated to the end of the earth. And I think like Giannis's agent made it clear that he wasn't speaking so literally. Like it could be just more like, different type of challenges, not necessarily like literally leaving geographically, but anything is possible. I don't know, but I think when I saw him have the ownership stake in the Brewers, that made me feel like, okay, I don't see him leaving, because that's a different level of commitment and love and trust in a city. So personally, I don't see it happening, but I don't know. But man, that was tough to read all the aggregation. I was like, wait, what is it? And I was like, everyone was texting me. But that's the internet for you.
Yeah, exactly. Out of control. And
it's so out of control.
For Giannis, in Greece, we only have one NBA superstar. So we tend to focus on everything he says and does. And, it's completely out of control when, stuff like that comes up, because all the NBA fans are like, no, you must not leave the team. And you're like, let the man be happy. Let the man do what he wants.
Can you imagine the text messages he got after that article? I mean, I can't even, it must have been like 500 people being like, you're leaving, like it must have been crazy. Oh my God.
But this is the type of story that is, okay, a story of November 2021, although the contract is far away and something that we'll think much later, I would guess. I heard from the Bill Simmons podcast that you discussed what were your thoughts before the free agency, if he was, that your inner gut was saying, okay, he will stay. Yeah. And for a bit you thought, okay, maybe there is too much opportunity for easy championships out there. But when he did it, you thought that, okay, yes, of course.
It like makes sense to me, but I just don't understand how people in my field are like, yeah, he's going to do this. He's not going to do this. It's like, you don't know, like, you're not at the dinner table. Like, you have no idea what those conversations are like. So for me, I was like, I really see it going 50-50, but when he stayed, it just made so much sense. And that's why I called that last chapter home, because when he said he was going to stay, he used the word home, which is a different level of connection than, okay, I'm gonna play for this team. It was like, no, this is my city. Like, it was just a different framing that he used, and that made sense to me, because I feel like his whole journey has been like trying to find home, whether it's a literal home, physical, or belonging home, like metaphorical. So to me, I don't know, it made sense. It totally made sense. But that's why I don't understand why the question keeps being asked, like, are you going to leave? Are you going to leave? To me, it's almost insulting to the city of Milwaukee. Like, he brings them a championship, and the first thing everyone wants to know, when are you packing your bags? Like, it's let these people celebrate. Like, this is a lifelong achievement. Like, why would you continue to traumatize this fan base by asking about if he's going to leave? Like, that sucks. Imagine like your guy is constantly like being told he's going to leave when even after delivering the championship. Like, that's horrible.
Great. So last question, Dom.
So you have one. I have
one.
So
okay. No, go ahead.
Okay, actually two. Now that we said about the GQ piece, there were stories that came out also about the finals, which were very interesting. I don't know if you had you heard of we didn't hear much during the finals of the cramps and the vomits. These are things that came out now that were very interesting on how the stress after the injury. All those are very interesting stories that I don't know if now they became known to everybody, or we had some there are people heard about it before, even though it was not public.
I certainly hadn't heard about it, and I didn't see anyone report that. I know The Athletic has good Bucks coverage. I didn't see anything there. So that was news to me. I thought that was a really good nugget in that story, which makes me feel like, God, we knew he was superhuman, but to get through that is insane. Like, I think now I have even more appreciation for what he was able to do, because that is just unreal, but yeah, none of us were aware of that, I don't think.
Okay. And final for me is that he spoke about always finding new challenges. And what is for Mirin the challenge that is ahead of you?
I had virtually the same question. So yeah.
So
I love this question, and that's why I admire Giannis, because I feel like I am like that in the sense of like I need to challenge myself. So for me, I'm like, what is book number 2? And I'm trying to figure out that right now. And it's a challenge because do I want to write on another current person, or do I want to, dig into somebody that's lived a bit longer, that has more perspective, that, Giannis is 26 when this came out. So it's like, do I want to, pick a topic about somebody who's in their 50s? Or I'm also thinking like, do I want to do a soccer book? Do I want like what? Because, I'm thinking globally. So the challenge is like, you got to be sure that the book is right. Like you're going to spend 2 years on this. You want to make sure that this is the right topic with the right human story, but also that can reach a wide audience. So I'm really pushing myself to find this. And I have a bunch of ideas, but I don't know if they're quite right yet. So that's my challenge. Like I want to do this as long as I can. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. You have 2 fans waiting to read the book from Greece.
Oh, thank you.
Mirin, thank you very, very, very much for being here. For us, it was a big, big honor. And having doing that for the last hour, it was so fun also to be exactly as fun as we thought it would be. It's an amazing, amazing honor to have you on our podcast.
Oh my God, it was an honor for me. Thank you guys so much. This was like so much fun, and we got to get Marcus Smart on here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna send an email after this because we got to get Marcus Smart to the pod. Okay.
We literally, I literally texted a friend of ours, a friend of the program for like many years before, and that we were talking about creating the Greek ringer. And I said, like, because we follow the ringer so much, like KOC, Chris Vernon, Bill Simmons, everyone for years. And like, I told him, like, we have a surprise for you today. Like, we have not created the Greek ringer yet, but the original is going to join us. So you can make
second best thing.
Yeah.
Well, now all you need is some Boston people on here and you're set.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mirin.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You
and
too.
hope you get to Greece at some point.
Yes.
If I get to Greece,
if
we
you
gotta
ever.
get coffee.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit us up.
Okay.
When you're here.
I will. Thank you guys so much. Such an honor.
Thank you from our heart. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.